along that genetic pattern.
Thank you. I brought my own applause just in case. Now, to get on to crop formations and their relevance to this whole Mayan calendar and 2012. This crop formation appeared in 1995, and it was called the Missing Earth Formation because it seems to represent an asteroid belt and the orbits of Mars, Earth, Venus, Mercury and the Sun. However, Earth seemed to be missing from its orbit. That's why they called it Earth is Missing Formation. On the day that it appeared, a researcher called Jas Rasool said that looking from below the solar system, the planets were in that position with the Sun at the centre, Mercury over here and Venus up there and Mars there. The same angles. However, the standard astronomical way of looking at the solar system is from above. And a researcher called Jack Sullivan, who's an amateur astronomer, he said that on the 16th of January 1998, this configuration appeared with, in exactly the same way, but looking from above the solar system. And again, on the 4th of June this year, 4 days before the Venus transit, we had exactly the same configuration again, but in both cases the Earth, which is missing off there, is located in the same position, which is right next to Venus, which means that it was in the middle of a retrograde loop, or the inferior conjunction of Earth and Venus. And that's when the Venus transit occurs, during the retrograde loop. The Venus transit came on the 8th of June this year. So this seems to be saying something about Venus and something about the retrograde loop of Venus. And as a sort of an extra, there are 65 of these asteroid rocks around here. And 65 is a Venus number because there are 65 of the 584-day cycles in the 104 Hab Venus round, which we showed you on the sunstone. This, as we've seen, the 5 retrograde loops of Venus that occur over exactly 8 halves form a pentagram with their positions on the horizon. This crop formation has 13 of these scale-like things between each of the points, and of course 5 lots of those adds up to 65. So you've got Venus depicted in the pentagram itself and in the number 65, and again in the centre, with these in a fractal way, are like miniature versions of the same thing. So you've got 65 within 65. This shows how Venus goes through and ends up slightly away from where it started. But remember when I showed you the picture of the round table with one rose within a smaller rose, representing a pentagram within a smaller pentagram? You could have the same thing here, and it could be possible that if the central one represented the movement of Venus and the Venus round, which is the 65 lots of the 584 days making the 104-year Venus round, this would then represent a larger cycle, and that could be the 65 Bactuns which make up the 5 eras of the precessional cycle, because in the 13 Bactun cycle, if that was one of the eras which we saw on the sunstone and at Turnina, then 5 of those eras would total 65 Bactuns, which is 26,000 tuns, and one cycle of the precession. So this could be the 26,000-year precessional cycle connected up with the Venus cycle, both very much looked at by the Maya. A very interesting little side effect of looking at this is the Venus transit this year was on in the Quiché Maya count, which is the unbroken count which they're still using today. It's the day 6 Ik. And because these are exactly 8 harbs apart, it was on the day 5 Sots, so that the next one in 2012, on the 6th of June 2012, will also be on the day 5 Sots. But more amazing, they're both on Ik days. And Ik is the day of Ehecatl, which you can see here, and is a form of Quetzalcoatl. And Quetzalcoatl is associated with Venus because in the myth, he became Venus. This is the Mayan version of Ik. So, pretty amazing that the Venus transit this year and in 2012 both happen on Quetzalcoatl's day, the day of Venus. One Venus pentagram is 8 harbs, which is 146 Wenals. One Venus round is 146 Zolkins, 104 harbs, which is 2 calendar rounds, 65 Venus cycles. It's all a bit of a strain on the brain, this, but it's quite amazing. I don't know why this 146 keeps coming up. One Mars round is 3 Venus rounds, and it's equivalent to 146 Mars cycles, where a Mars cycle is 780 days. That is the period between 2 Mars loops. Now that has already appeared in the fields at Etchelhampton, Wiltshire, 1997. We had a 780 unit grid, and at the time that was 30 by 26. Michael Glickman, the crop circle researcher and a legendary geometer, he said he thought this was about 2012 because that's the exact number of weeks, 780 weeks between the time it appeared and the same time in the year 2012, because 15 years away, and it was 30 units down one way and 26 the other way, so that's 30 years. 30 lots of 26 weeks is 15 years, basically. So it's the exact number of weeks between when it appeared and 2012. I think this is the most amazing crop formation that we've had associated with the Maya calendar, because April 2004, it actually ghosted was the second one to be reported this year. But last year, July 2003, Huish in Wiltshire, this 13-pointed star appeared. And it's a dead copy of a diagram from Jose Arguelles' Mayan factor, which I've just shaded in for emphasis here. And that diagram was to describe the 13 Baxen cycle itself. So here it is in the fields 2 years running. Another thing about that, which I forgot to mention about the Venus transits, is there was a Venus transit in 1518 and another one in 1526. And between those Venus transits is when Cortez invaded the Aztecs, and they mistook him for their returning god Quetzalcoatl, the god of Venus. So it's like there was an expectation of the return of Quetzalcoatl between the Venus transits at that time, because they got it wrong and he killed them all. But we mustn't make the same mistake. At Newgrange in Ireland, there is a light box. It's a kind of massive passage grave. There's a light box over the door, and the whole thing is designed so that at winter solstice every year, the sun shines down the passage and illuminates the glyphs down the passageway, and especially down the light box right into the central chamber, where it illuminates a triple spiral. And there's only 2 triple spirals on the whole site. One you can see here on the doorway, and there's one in the central chamber. When it was built on winter solstice, the solstice sun illuminated the triple spiral at the centre chamber. But today, because of the slight movement of the sun, it's moved across onto the floor. But there's 2 Masonic writers, Knight and Lomas, have recently looked at this, and they said that this is the Neolithic sign for 1 year, this cross sign, because like we get a similar thing at Stonehenge, where you've got the rectangle at Stonehenge. It's sort of where if you join up the solstice, winter solstice sunrise, winter solstice sunset, summer solstice